The teaching of the cosmos. Knowledge begins with the teaching of the cosmos. We have encountered the expressions the macrocosm and the microcosm, which simply means large cosmos and small cosmos, or larger world and smaller world. The universe is regarded as the large, and man a small cosmos, analogous to the larger one. This establishes, as it were, the idea of unity and similarity between the world and man. The teaching of the two cosmoses is known from the Kabbalah and other more ancient systems. However, this teaching is incomplete, and nothing can be derived from or built upon it. This is because the teaching is a fragment, split off from another much fuller and ancient esoteric teaching about cosmoses or worlds, included one within another, and created in the image and in the likeness of the greatest of them, including within itself all the others. As above so below, is an expression we know that refers to the cosmoses. It is essential, however, to know that the full teaching on cosmoses speaks not of two, but of 7 cosmoses. 7 cosmoses taken in their relation to one another alone represent a complete picture of the universe. The idea of 2 analogous cosmoses accidentally preserved from a great and complete teaching is so fragmented, that it can give no idea of the analogy between man and the world. The teaching on cosmoses examines 7 cosmoses as follows. The first cosmos is the protocosmos, or the first cosmos. The second cosmos is the iacosmos, the holy cosmos, or the megalocosmos, also known as the great. The third cosmos is the macrocosmos, the large. The fourth cosmos is the deuterocosmos, the second. The fifth cosmos is the mesocosmos, the middle. The sixth cosmos is the tritocosmos, the third. The seventh cosmos is the microcosmos, the small. The protocosmos is the absolute in the ray of creation, or world 1. The iacosmos is world 3, all worlds in the ray of creation. The macrocosmos is our starry world, the Milky Way, or world 6 in the ray of creation. The deuterocosmos is the Sun, a solar system, or world 12. The mesocosmos is all planets, world 24, with the Earth as our planetary representative. The tritocosmos is man. The microcosmos is the atomic or microscopic world. What is termed an atom is the smallest amount of any substance in which that substance retains all of its properties, physical, chemical, psychic and cosmic, a microbe from this perspective. There can of course be an atom of water. We can see that in the general order of the 7 cosmoses, the microcosm and the macrocosm stand so far apart from one another, that it is impossible to see or establish any direct analogy between them. Each cosmos is a living being that lives, breathes, thinks, feels, is born, and it also dies. All cosmoses result from the action of the same forces, and of the same laws. Laws are the same everywhere. However, they manifest themselves in a different, or at least in not quite the same way on different planes of the universe, that is, on different levels. Consequently, cosmoses are not quite analogous to one another. If the law of octaves did not exist, then the analogy between them would have been complete. However, owing to the law of octaves, there is no complete analogy between them, just as there is no complete analogy between the different notes of the octave. It is only 3 octaves, when taken together, that are similar and analogous to any other 3. A holy trinity or law of triads. The conditions for the action of laws on each plane, that is in each cosmos, are determined by the 2 adjoining cosmoses, the one above and the one below. 3 cosmoses standing next to one another give a complete picture of the manifestation of the laws of the universe. One cosmos on its own cannot give a complete picture. Thus, in order to know one cosmos, it is necessary to know the 2 adjoining cosmoses, the one above and the one below. Which is one larger and one smaller. Taken together, these 2 cosmoses determine the one that lies between them. Hence the mesocosmos and the microcosmos, taken together, determine the tritocosmos. The deuterocosmos and the tritocosmos determine the mesocosmos, and so on. The relation of one cosmos to another is different from the relation of one world to another in the astronomical ray of creation. In the ray of creation, worlds are taken in the actual relation in which they exist in the universe for us, from our point of view. The moon, the earth, the planets, the sun, the Milky Way, and so on. Therefore, the quantitative interrelation of the worlds, one to another, in the ray of creation is not permanent. In one case or on one level, it is greater. For example, the relation of all suns to our sun. On another level, it is less. As in the relation of the earth to the moon. However, the interrelation of the cosmoses is always the same. That is to say, one cosmos is related to another as 0 is to infinity. Which means that the relation of the microcosmos to the tritocosmos is the same as that of 0 to infinity. The relation of the tritocosmos to the mesocosmos is that of 0 to infinity, and the relation of the mesocosmos to the deuterocosmos is that of 0 to infinity, and so on. In order to understand the meaning of the division into cosmoses, and the relation of cosmoses to one another, it is necessary to understand what the relation of 0 to infinity means. If we understand what this means, then the principle of the division of the universe into cosmoses, the necessity of such a division, and the impossibility of drawing for ourselves a more or less lucid picture of the world without this division will become clearer. The idea of cosmoses helps to understand our place in the world. It solves many problems, as for example, those connected with space, with time, and so on. Above all, this idea serves to establish the principle of relativity. The latter is particularly important, for it is impossible to have a concept of the world without having established the principle of relativity. The idea of cosmoses enables us to put the study of relativity on a firm basis. At first glance, there is much that appears paradoxical in the system of cosmoses. In reality, however, this apparent paradox is simply relativity. The idea of the possibility of broadening man's consciousness and increasing our capacity for knowledge stands in direct relation to the teaching on cosmoses. In an ordinary state, we are conscious of ourselves in one cosmos, and all the other cosmoses we look at from the point of view of one cosmos. The broadening of our consciousness and the intensifying of psychic function leads us into the sphere of activity and life of two other cosmoses. The one above, and the one below, simultaneously. That is, one larger and one smaller. This broadening or expansion of conscious awareness does not proceed in one direction only, in the direction of the higher cosmoses, in going above, at the same time it also goes below. This last idea explains perhaps some expressions met within occult literature, for example the saying that, the way up is the same as the way down. As a rule, this expression is quite wrongly interpreted. In reality, it means that if, for example, one begins to feel the life of all planets, or if the level of our conscious awareness passes to the level of the planetary world, then we begin at the same time to feel the life of microbes, and our consciousness passes also to their level. In this way, the broadening of consciousness proceeds simultaneously in two directions, towards the greater, and towards the lesser. Both the great and the small require for their cognition a like change in us. In looking for parallels and analogies between the cosmoses, we may take each cosmos in three relationships. In relation to itself, in relation to a higher or a larger cosmos, and in its relation to a lower or smaller cosmos. The manifestation of the laws of one cosmos in another cosmos constitute what we call a miracle. There can be no other kind of miracle. A miracle is not a breaking of laws, nor is it a phenomenon outside of laws. It is a phenomenon that takes place according to the laws of another cosmos. These laws are incomprehensible and unknown to us, and so are sensed as miraculous. In order to understand the laws of relativity, it is useful to examine the life and phenomena of one cosmos, as though observing from another cosmos, that is, to examine phenomena from the point of view of the laws of another cosmos. All the manifestations of life in a given cosmos, when examined from another cosmos, assume a completely different aspect and have a completely different meaning. Many new phenomena appear, and many other phenomena disappear. This in general completely changes our picture of the world and of things. The idea of cosmoses alone can provide a firm basis for the establishment of the laws of relativity. Real science and real philosophy ought to be founded on an understanding of the laws of relativity. Consequently, it is possible to say that science and philosophy, in their true meaning of the terms, should begin with the idea of cosmoses. Let's examine then what the ratio of 0 to infinity really means. If we understand this, then we can understand the relation of one cosmos to another. In the world accessible to our study, we have a clear example of the relation of 0 to infinity. In geometry, which is the relation of one unit, of a certain number of dimensions, to another unit, of a greater number of dimensions. The relation of a point to a line, of a line to a plane, of a plane to a solid, of a solid, that is of 3 dimensions, to a 4-dimensional body, and so on. If we accept this perspective, then we have to admit that the relationship of one cosmos to another is the relation of two bodies of different dimensions. If one cosmos is 3-dimensional, then the next cosmos, that is the one above, must be 4-dimensional, and the next, 5-dimensional. If we take an atom or microbe as it were, the microcosm as a point, then relative to this point, man will be a line, that is a figure of 1 dimension. The next cosmos, the earth, will be a plane relative to man, that is, it will have 2 dimensions, which is actually the case for direct perception. The sun, the solar system, will be 3-dimensional for the earth. The starry world will be 4-dimensional for the sun. All worlds will then be 5-dimensional, and the absolute or protocosmos is 6-dimensional. In the system of cosmoses, it is possible to see the full period of dimensions discussed in the new model of the universe. This is not merely a coincidence of detail, it is absolutely identical. The period of dimensions contains within itself 7 dimensions, the 0 dimension, the first, the second, and so on up to the 6th dimension. The 0 dimension is where a point is the limit. This means that we see something as a point, but we do not know what is concealed behind that point. It may actually be a point, that is a body having no dimensions, however it may also be an entire world. A world so far removed, or so small in the sky, that it appears to us as a dot. The movement of this point in space will appear as a line, for example a shooting star. In the same way the point itself will see the space along which it moves as a line. The movement of that line in a direction perpendicular to itself will be a plane, and the line itself will see the space along which it moves in the shape of a plane, for example, the aurora borealis, or northern lights. Up until now we have examined a line from the point of view of a point, and a plane from the point of view of a line. But the point, the line and the plane can also be taken from the point of view of a 3-dimensional body. In this case the plane will be the boundary of a body, or its side, its section. A line will be the boundary limiting that plane, or a section of the plane. A point will be the limit or the section of that line. A 3-dimensional body differs from the point, the line and the plane by the fact that it has a real existence for our perception. A plane is in fact only an aspect or a perception of a body, the line is a projection of a plane and the point is a projection of a line. A body then has an independent physical existence, namely it possesses a number of different physical properties. When we say a thing exists, we mean by this existence in time. However, there is no time in 3-dimensional space, and time lies outside of 3-dimensional space. Time as we feel it, lies in the 4th dimension and existence is for us existence in time. Existence in time is movement or extension along the 4th dimension. If we take existence as an extension along the 4th dimension, if we think of life as a 4-dimensional body, then a 3-dimensional body will be its section, its projection or its limit. Existence in time, however, does not embrace all the aspects of existence. Apart from existing in time, everything that exists also in eternity. Eternity is the infinite existence of every moment of time. If we conceive time as a line, from now till then, this line will be crossed at every point by the lines of eternity, forever, forming a matrix. Every point or moment of a line in time will be intersected by a line in eternity. The line of time will exist on a plane of eternity, which is now, always and forever. Eternity has 1 dimension more than time. Therefore, if time is the 4th dimension, then eternity is the 5th dimension. If the space of time is 4-dimensional, then the space of eternity is 5-dimensional, and represents the fabric of time. Furthermore, in order to understand the idea of the 5th and the 6th dimensions, a certain view of time must be established. Every moment of time contains a certain number of possibilities, at times a small number, and at others a greater number, but never an infinite number. It is necessary to realize that there are possibilities, and there are also impossibilities. I can take from this desk and throw on the floor a piece of paper, a pencil or an empty cup. But I cannot take from the desk and throw on the floor an orange that is not already there. This clearly defines the difference between possibility and impossibility. There are several combinations of possibilities in relation to things that can be thrown on the floor from this desk. I can throw a pencil, or a piece of paper or a cup, or else a pencil and a piece of paper, a pencil and a cup, or all 3 together, or nothing at all. There are only these possibilities. If we take as a moment of time, the moment when these possibilities exist, then the next moment will be a moment of the actualization of one of the possibilities, any one. A pencil is thrown on the floor. This is the actualization of one of the possibilities. Then the next moment comes, and this moment also has a finite number of possibilities, in a certain definite sense. If the pencil is no longer on the desk, then that possibility is obviously removed, and the moment after this will again be a moment of the actualization of one of the remaining possibilities, relative to the cup or to the piece of paper. The consecutiveness of these moments, of the actualization of one possibility, constitutes the line of time. However, each moment of time has an infinite existence in eternity, within the fabric of time. The possibilities that have been actualized continue to be endlessly actualized, or to echo in eternity. Whilst the non-actualized possibilities continue to remain non-actualized, and non-actualizable. However, all of the possibilities that have been created, or have originated in the world, must be actualized. The actualization of all the possibilities created or originated, constitutes that world's being. At the same time, there is no place for the non-actualization of these possibilities within the limits of eternity. In eternity, everything that has been actualized continues to be actualized forevermore. And everything non-actualized continues to remain non-actualized. Eternity, however, is only a plane crossed by the line of time. At every point of this line there remain a certain number of non-actualized possibilities. If we imagine then the line of actualization of these possibilities, they will proceed along a radii issuing from one point at different angles to the line of time, and to the line of eternity. These lines will proceed outside of eternity, outside of five-dimensional space, on a different plane and in a higher eternity, in six-dimensional space. In the sixth dimension. The sixth dimension is the line of the actualization of all possibilities. The fifth dimension is the line of the eternal existence or repetition of the actualized possibilité. The fourth dimension is the sequence of moments in the actualization of one possibility. 7 dimensions, from 0 dimension to the sixth dimension, constitute the period of dimensions. Beyond this period there is either nothing, or the same period may repeat itself on another scale. The system of cosmos fully corresponds to the period of dimensions, only it goes still further and explains things that were previously unclear. If we take the microcosm, namely the atom or microbe as earlier defined, then the tritocosmos, for it will be four-dimensional space, the mesocosmos will be five-dimensional space, and the deuterocosmos will be six-dimensional space. This means in layman's terms, that all the possibilities of an atom or microbe are realized within the limits of the solar system. If we take man as the tritocosmos, then for him the mesocosmos will be four-dimensional space, the deuterocosmos five-dimensional space, and the macrocosmos six-dimensional space. This means that all the possibilities of man, the tritocosmos, are realized in the macrocosm, the macrocosmos. Consequently, parallel with this, all the possibilities of the mesocosmos are realized in the iacosmos, and all the possibilities of the deuterocosmos or the sun, are realized in the protocosmos or the absolute. As every cosmos has a real physical existence, then every cosmos is therefore three-dimensional for itself or in itself. In relation to a lower cosmos it is four-dimensional, in relation to a higher cosmos it is a point. To put it differently, it is itself three-dimensional, however the fourth dimension lies for it in the cosmos above and in the cosmos below. The last point is perhaps the most paradoxical, but nevertheless it is as it should be. For a three-dimensional body, such as is a cosmos, the fourth dimension lies as much in the realm of very large magnitudes as in the realm of very small magnitudes. As much in the realm of what is actually infinity, as in the realm of what is actually zero. Furthermore, we must understand that the three-dimensionality of even one and the same body can be different. Only a six-dimensional body can be completely real. A five-dimensional body is only an incomplete view of a six-dimensional body. A four-dimensional body is an incomplete view of a five-dimensional body, and a three-dimensional body is an incomplete view of a four-dimensional body. Of course, a plane is an incomplete view of a three-dimensional body, that is a view of one side of it. In the same way that a line is an incomplete view of a plane, or a point is an incomplete view of a line. Furthermore, though we do not know how, a six-dimensional body can see itself as three-dimensional. Somebody looking at it from outside may possibly also see it as a three-dimensional body, but in a completely different kind of three-dimensionality. For example, we represent the Earth to ourselves as three-dimensional. This three-dimensionality, though, is only imaginary. As a three-dimensional body, the Earth is something quite different for itself from what it is for us. Our view of it is incomplete, because we see it as a section of its complete being. The earthly globe is an imaginary body. It is a section of the six-dimensional Earth. However, this six-dimensional Earth can also be three-dimensional for itself, only we do not know it, and we can have no concept of the form in which the Earth senses itself. The possibilities of the Earth are actualized in the iacosmos, which means that in the iacosmos the Earth is a six-dimensional body. We can actually, to a certain extent, see in what way the form of the Earth must change. In the deuterocosmos, namely in relation to the Sun, the Earth is no longer a point, taking a point as a scale reduction of a three-dimensional body, but a line that we trace as the path of the Earth in its orbit around the Sun. If we take the Sun in the macrocosmos, that is, if we visualize the line of the Sun's motion, then the line of the motion of the Earth will become a spiral, encircling the line of the Sun's motion. See videos available on YouTube of a helical model of the solar system. If we conceive a lateral motion of this spiral, then the motion will construct a figure that we cannot imagine, because we do not know the nature of its motion. But which nevertheless will be the six-dimensional figure of the Earth that the Earth itself can see as a three-dimensional figure. It is necessary to establish, and to understand this, because otherwise the three-dimensionality of the cosmos will become linked with our idea of three-dimensional bodies. The three-dimensionality of even one and the same body can be different. This last point is what is connected with the principle of relativity in the fourth way, which has nothing in common with the principle of relativity in mechanics, or with Professor Einstein's principle of relativity. As in the new model of the universe, it is the principle of the relativity of existence. We further need to understand that time in one cosmos is different from time in another cosmos, and that this difference can be calculated exactly, how time in one cosmos is related to time in another cosmos. Time is breath, the life, the breath and the rhythm of a particular cosmos. The sleep and waking of living beings and plants, for instance, that is 24 hours, or a day and a night on this planet, is the breath of organic life on Earth.